Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider of the Business Performance Podcast, and today it's my pleasure to talk with Marcia Daszko, a Deming consultant with well over 25 years in the area, and she's noted for her 3 words: pivot, disrupt, and transform. So welcome, Marcia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Marcia, to begin with, to let everybody know about you, what is your company, the type of clients you work with, and what services you provide?
Okay, I'm happy to share that starting my consulting practice over 25 years ago, I was given several referrals and had been working with some other organizations in the past, and that was because my mentor, Dr. Perry Gluckman, who is also my manager, passed away, and we had clients that we were working with, and so that evolution was I continued to work with our clients, such as Dow Chemical and Pepsi, and then went on to work with PBS Television Network, a chain of car dealerships in Honolulu. So the breadth is I have worked with organizations everywhere from the Pentagon and the U.S. Navy to global nonprofits, and at least 70% of my work has been in corporate America, everything from small private companies to the Fortune 100. And I've worked with also education, smaller nonprofits, and healthcare. So it's across the gamut, really, because the focus is on how can we help leadership not only develop, but transform themselves and their organizations.
Okay, wonderful. So when you work with your clients, what is the importance of quality to the clients?
One of the things that clients learn is that they don't tell their customers what quality is. The customers define quality. Anyone can think about that when you go to a restaurant or you fly on a certain airline. You, the customer, know if you're going to go back to the restaurant or not, if you're going to fly that airline or not. So that is really the focus is we continually have to improve and improve and improve the quality, but we have to understand the current customer, the future customer, and where the direction of the customer, where are they going, so that we can anticipate what they want and what they need. And then the leaders of an organization are the ones that have to design the system to create that. Like Dr. Deming said, no customer asks for a fax machine or electric lights or a camera. Mm-hmm. It was an organization that, an innovator or innovators that created those products and created the market for them.
Yeah, that's the same thing you have with entrepreneurs and startups, is that they've got to listen to understand what the customers want.
Yes.
And it's all perceived quality. It doesn't matter how really good it is, but it's what the customer perceives.
Exactly.
So, building on that, what are 1 or 2 of the biggest myths or misconceptions that you run into when it comes to quality and business performance?
Well, that is directly linked with a section in my book called Pivot, Disrupt, Transform, because if leaders don't stop doing a lot of the quote unquote best practices and management fads, they are building on and on and on, copying from other companies, and they need to first stop the bad things before they can improve and innovate. And because otherwise they're just building in more and more and more waste and complexity, and they're losing their productivity that they could benefit from. So things that organizations need to stop doing are, number one, holding individuals accountable. They try to measure the performance of individuals. That's not what is going to, that's tinkering around the edges. That's not going to help them improve, innovate, grow their businesses. What they need to be measuring is the performance of the systems that they've created. That's one huge difference out in the world. We hear about performance management, and if something isn't working out right, hold the individual accountable and put them on a performance improvement plan. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. That's one thing. Another thing is, linked to that, is performance appraisals. Thousands and millions of dollars are wasted annually by organizations conducting performance appraisals where they want to rank and rate and judge and criticize and blame the individuals for the systems that are in the organizations. And when processes don't give them the results that they want, then they want to blame people. And that's old thinking. They need to shift that thinking and think in terms of how can we learn, work, improve, and innovate together. And leaders have the job to remove the barriers that are in the way of people doing great work. If, like author Peter Schultz one day said, if you want people to do great work, then give them great work to do.
Yeah, if you're reminding me back when I first was encountered Deming and Juran, doing quality circles and TQMS, which did not work. So how did you get over that hump? Because it's not the people at the bottom love this stuff, but it's all the middle management at the top that don't make it work.
Well, the leaders generally are not aware. They've never been taught about systems thinking, statistical thinking. They're doing their best, but they're doing the wrong things. They're not thinking or questioning the things that they need to do. So I use a strategic compass, and it's basically 5 questions that I lead them through. And with one sheet of paper, with those 5 questions, we can spend 2 or 3 days totally thinking differently about their company and their organization and their leadership. So in order for leaders to transform their thinking, transform themselves and their organizations, and experience exponential growth, they have to have a conversation together and answer questions they've never answered before, they've never even thought of before. I remember one offsite with an executive team, and the president of the company said, and he had been there 30 years, and he said, Marcia, it doesn't bother me that we don't know the answers to these questions because we're smart and we can figure those out. What bothers me is I've been leading this company for 30 years and I've never thought of these questions. And those are big ahas to people who are trying to lead people. And oftentimes another major stop is, one of the things I often say to my clients is, okay, how do you spend your time when you get together as a management team? And they generally say we meet monthly or we meet quarterly, and we go offsite and we go over the budgets, the forecasts, the projections, the numbers for 1 or 2 or 3 days. And I said, okay, that's what I want you to stop. So instead, I would like us to have a monthly management team meeting for a couple of days. And the focus is we start talking about quality, and we start talking about quality for the customer. That's where the conversations begin. We talk about the leadership, we talk about the systems and the processes and the the value you bring, and the measures of progress, not just the measures of success. And then I said, and if we have time at the end of the 2 days, then we'll talk about the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's shocked.
Yeah. And that's talking about those vanity metrics, the metrics that make you feel good about the business, but doesn't give any insight to what's actually going on.
Exactly. Yeah, because they're focused on the bottom line, the results, instead of the processes that got them to those results. What was happening in the system that delivered those results? And they think they can, I don't know, change the results at the end, but it's already done. So they need to go back and say, okay, let's look at the systems and the processes and the culture that we have. Do all of these things work? Or if not, maybe we have a culture of individual performance measurement rather than having a culture of learning and collaborating and working together to improve and serve a customer.
So in addition to those 5 questions, what else do you use to help to break through and open their eyes so they understand, hey, we got to look at things differently?
Yes. Questions. I ask never-ending questions, and they know then over time that just don't give a fast answer, because the fast answer is going to be what they've been doing in the past. So questions are important, but those questions come out of a theoretical foundation of leadership, and that is that's one thing. Dr. Deming taught the system of profound knowledge, so there are a lot of resources from his books, and that is a foundation. And then from there, getting people together and teaching them about system optimization and process improvement. And well, there are 3 strategies that I share that are foundational. One is quality as a business strategy, continual improvement as a business strategy, and innovation as a business strategy. And organizations need all 3, whether they are a hospital, a school district, a corporation, the U.S. Navy, doesn't matter. They need all 3.
Okay. So in the back of my mind, I'm wondering about, do you use Deming's red bead experiment? That is such an illustrative example of working smarter versus working harder.
Yes, I teach that.
Yeah, what I do periodically, I grab a YouTube video with Dr. Deming from many years ago where he went through that, and he's got such a deadpan sense of humor. But it's just wonderful to watch him go through that. It just really illustrates to everybody in the room that that doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to change the number of defects or the percentage in the output product.
Yes. I share, my favorite video of Dr. Deming's is called The Deming of America. I've watched it over 200 times because, in fact, I just watched it last Saturday with one of my clients who's a medical association. So it was a room full of doctors, and they were watching The Deming of America for the first time, and it's all about system optimization, and who better than doctors need to understand the system, because they have to understand how all the parts of the body are working or not working, and where are the symptoms and where are the root causes of medical problems. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting because they might do that in their practice, but do they apply it to the organizations that they lead or run, or departments and so forth?
Sure. Yeah, and I was talking with somebody last week about the same topic. Is that he was a CIO for a hospital system, and it's like he's struggling to, how much does he automate and then do away with these technicians' jobs, or how much responsibility you leave with them, because there's the protocols, everything. There's so many mistakes happening that need to be tightened up.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So we were talking before we started about recent success you had. So could you please share the story how you helped your client overcome obstacles and succeed?
Yes. So when I begin with a client, I mean, the first conversation is about, okay, they share all of the issues and problems that they're struggling through. And then they ask, can you help? And it's like, well, until I see, I don't know. But we have this conversation, and I'm really looking for their commitment to learn and their commitment to make tough changes.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not just changes where they can, change and change back. Those are just transactions. But transformational change, like the caterpillar becomes the butterfly and can never change back to the caterpillar. That's a kind of change. So we have some tough conversations first. And then after assessing what's going on in their organization, that's phase one. Phase two is new education, strategic thinking offsite, not strategic planning in the traditional sense,
Mm-hmm.
but to teach new things and ask questions. And then I work with the executive team and we create key business issue teams. What are the things that they're most struggling with that are impacting the organization and are linked to their customer, membership, student body, whatever it is. And then on an ongoing basis, I coach them in the application of this new thinking, new beliefs, new methodology, new tools. It's a change.
Yeah. So you mentioned specifically with a recent client that they were thinking they wanted to be this big, and you came back after the meeting was like, they want to be that big.
Yes. So yeah, I've had clients that they tell me, okay, I want to take the company from 30 to 35 million, and we've taken it from 30 million to 300 million. Or I work with a client that are close to bankruptcy, but they don't either realize it or are in denial about it. So we quickly have to do a turnaround in sometimes a month or two, and then start the growth through intensive new education and new application of new concepts and new thinking, new questions to answer. So those organizations have then they begin to double, triple, quadruple in size, and then I usually tell the leaders, get out of the way of your people because they are going to take you where you've never been before.
So,
and then all the high fives are great.
So if you could distill all that down to a moral of the story, what would be the moral here?
Oh, the moral. Well, my aim is always to provoke thinking. Mm-hmm. So when I begin with my clients, or I begin to give a speech at a conference, in an organization, that is the most important thing, is to don't accept the status quo. Don't accept the problems. There are root causes to the problems, but constantly, if anyone wants to lead and serve and have happy employees and happy customers, then it means that you're always going to be in a experiential learning mode. You're going to always be questioning like never before, so that you can transform and experience success and happiness like never before.
Okay.
That's transformation.
Sure. Okay, so, a lot of times, people hear these things, they get all energized, but then they don't know how to take it forward. So if you go in and work with them, how do you make these concepts stick so they can move forward and continually improve rather than fall back?
Yes, under stress, sometimes they would fall back, but once they question and learn, they know they don't have to accept problems. They can work together to improve if they follow processes that are different. And so it's once they have learned something new and it's worked, they've experienced it, then they won't go back and do the same things. They won't see, they have a new lens to look through. And that's where it starts. It's thinking first. So they go from this fixed limiting mindset to develop through study and learning new concepts, tools, and so forth. They shift to this commitment to development, learning, growth. And when they make that shift, they don't often go back. So there's the old way of thinking and a better way of thinking. I also describe that in my book.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier about car dealerships, and I've been talking to several people who were advisors at car dealerships, and that's kind of a unique situation because basically anybody can walk in off the street and start working, selling cars, or be a service advisor. And so they don't necessarily have the skill sets for all this. So what are the challenges that you face when you're working with car dealerships?
I love working with car dealerships. I've had many car dealerships as my clients. In fact, one of my first clients was a chain of car dealerships owned by Mr. Honda's daughter. And I think there were at least 7 car dealerships. They were the state that they were in. It was in a recession at the time, and yet they opened a new car dealership during that time and were profitable. So they had a president, CEO, and CFO that were very committed to learning. And when they called me, they said, "Marcia, we want you to teach Dr. Deming's philosophy to us." So they were specific. Some organizations want to learn and have heard of Deming. Other people have never heard of Deming or his philosophy. They know about how that someone helped turn around Japan after World War II and make them a global competitor. And they might know that he then came back to the U.S. in the 1980s and worked with the CEO of Ford and General Motors and helped save our auto industry. And then I told them that was Dr. Deming, and they go, "Oh, they just didn't know that." So once they, so that's how when the first car dealership approached me, they wanted to learn about Dr. Deming's philosophy and how to implement it. So that's what I teach, and that's how I guide organizations in the application. And that's key because there are a lot of buzzwords out there like continual improvement and quality, and there used to be TQM and so forth. And we need to, let go of the buzzwords and really adopt experientially. We need to put the concepts to work. And when we do that, then organizations transform.
Yeah. Well, even the phrase best practices is very loaded too.
Yes.
If people don't agree on what the term means.
Yeah, they need to get rid of the term because there is no such thing, really. It's being even an old English major, it's good, better, best. So if you're at the best, you've really, stopped the learning process on you. And many people say, "Oh, let's find the best practice." Well, that means let's not use our brain and think about it. Let's just go copy somebody else.
Yeah, and that doesn't work at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, would you spend a few moments telling us, our listeners, about your backstory and what defining moment inspired you to be where you are today?
Well, it was evolution and revolution. I think that my first career being in corporate communications and marketing, and then I began working with Dr. Perry Gluckman in his consulting firm. He introduced me to the firm was helping organizations like HP and 3Com learn and apply Dr. Deming's philosophy. So Dr. Gluckman Perry sent me off to Dr. Deming's four-day seminar, and I met him, and Dr. Deming knew that I was working for Perry, and he said, come as often as you can to learn. So I went to 20 of Dr. Deming's four-day seminars, and then co-founded the Bay Area Deming User Group, and we met monthly for 14 years. And then I was part of co-founding another nonprofit organization that focused on having people come together annually. It was actually one of the big sponsors was Boeing, the division that made rocket engines. And we brought together a conference every year focused on, it was in thinking, so systems thinking based on the work of Dr. Deming and Dr. Russ Akoff, for example.
Okay.
So those defining moments, I think, are all wrapped around a huge commitment and to learning, and to like I always share with my clients, my aim is to provoke your thinking, and I'm constantly trying to do that with myself, to challenge what I think I know and what I want to question in order to take my learning to a new level.
Okay. So thinking about that and kind of exploring a little bit further, could you share an experience you had early on in your life that still influences how you approach business today?
The first thing that popped into my mind when you asked that was about my son. When he was going to go to kindergarten, that was about the time that I was working with Dr. Perry Gluckman, and I met Dr. Deming. So my thought was, okay, he's going to go to school and get gold stars and grades and so forth, just like I did, go through that school system. Well, after learning about grades and their impact and the carrot and stick approach that we use with children from when they're little, if a family has two kids, they immediately say, okay, who can get their pajamas on faster? And it's like, so we instill this competition when we need to have more cooperation. So Alfie Kohn wrote some amazing books. He's got many books, but the first one I read was called No Contest, The Case Against Competition. And he and Dr. Deming had conversations about that thinking. And then he wrote a phenomenal book called Punished by Rewards. And that was basically between Dr. Deming, Perry, and Alfie Kohn, I transformed my thinking from grades and gold stars to focus on joy and learning. And so I was able to influence my son's school and his teachers grade by grade. And he didn't have grades until he went to junior high. By that time, he had the love of learning, and that's where he focused. So I think when I think about it, my most important defining moment was learning about that, so that I was able to guide my son's learning and create joy in learning for him, so that now he's he's older and he has children, and the focus is on joy of learning and joy of working together and helping each other, and not trying to create artificial competition. Like Dr. Deming said, we can play a game of tennis or chess, and we know it's a game, and we know there's a winner and a loser. But education, healthcare, cooperation in an organization to serve customers or members, it's not a game. Why do we make everything a win-lose? We need instead to change our thinking, transform it, and think about how do we create an environment where there's joy in work and joy in learning.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, and and what I've seen over and over again, when you focus in on the competition at work, it just drives dysfunctional behavior. You may reward one person, everybody else is all demotivated, and they do something else because they're not going to get it.
Yes. I've observed that there's between generally 50 to 80% of waste and complexity in organizations. When I first walk in and see it, it doesn't take long to hear it and look around and see the complexity. And then that's why there's so much opportunity. But people are doing their best. They're working hard and putting in their best efforts, and that's generally the worst thing they can do.
Yeah, and it's my position. Everybody wants to do the best job, but if you don't give them the right tools and the processes, they'll make it up, and they'll still try to do their best, and then it's all at odds.
Yes, that's what creates the internal competition and the dysfunctional environments that then create the low productivity, the waste, the complexity, and the frustration. And that's why organizations sometimes have high turnover, or employees that are not engaged with each other, or for sure the customers. That it's reflected in the customers. It's like, are they happy? Are the employees happy?
So, tough question here. What does success look like for Marcia Daszko?
It's success. It's ongoing. It's ongoing learning, helping, making a difference. Success is when people ask questions and ask for help. That's success.
Okay. So what's the most important question that your customers should be thinking about when they come to you for help?
Well, I know that the questions I often get are first a list. These are all the problems. Can you help? And I want them to think about, what is your commitment to making a difference? What's your commitment to learning differently, new things, and applying that new thinking, those new methods? Are you committed? Because those are the two things that I look for when I'm talking to a potential client is, are you open to learning and trying new things? Do you have courage? So I'm looking for openness to learning and courage. That's all.
Yeah, that's very important, because if somebody's not willing to go the extra mile, it's going to be a wasted effort.
Exactly.
So so you're not the only one doing this in your space. So what's the most important things that customers should consider when comparing what you do against your competition?
Well, it's interesting. I used to have, I think, a lot of colleagues, a lot of associates, and there are a lot of people that in recent years that I could call on. And if I had a big client, I could call and say, oh, are you interested to come in and work on this, to help this organization transform? And that was fairly easy. Now, so many other colleagues and peers that I know that have the knowledge are retiring. And I'm like, no, you can't, you have too much knowledge. And Dr. Deming, he worked up until 2 weeks before he died at the age of 93, and he gave his last 4-day seminars on oxygen. So wow. It's like, where are you going? So my quote unquote competition, if organizations are looking for easy answers, if they're not committed to really tackling some tough situations in a new way, then there are plenty of consultants out there, trainers. I don't really do training, but there are trainers and coaches and leadership, I don't know what to call them, consultants, I guess, and change management people. But the biggest caution that I would share with any leader thinking about hiring a consultant is that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of hacks, and probably generally only a few people, few meaning, fewer, that have the knowledge that they really need if they're interested in learning and transforming and growing their organization.
Right. And along with that, you need people that have the breadth where they've seen it in many different situations. So because I've also encountered people that they come up with one true way of doing things, my way, and this is what we're going to do, and it puts in off. That's what gives process improvement a bad name, because it's all an infrastructure that doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, you can improve and improve and improve a process. You can improve and improve and improve a buggy whip. That doesn't get you to the horseless carriage, the car, the electric car, the driverless car. It's like, it takes different thinking than just improvement. So you can improve, but again, back to the three-legged stool of strategies, focusing on quality that connects to the customer, improvement, because people can continually improve and still go out of business because they need to innovate. Mm-hmm. Also, that's got to be a foundational strategy. And if people don't, if they want to deny that there might be a different product or a different service that might make them go out of business, like what happened with taxis when Uber and Lyft came along, what happened to the hotel industry when Airbnb came along. It doesn't mean they went away, but they were been significantly impacted. Mm-hmm. That now we're looking at Amazon, just like decades ago, we looked at Walmart sweep across the nation. Now we're looking at Amazon wipe out companies.
Yeah, and they're worried because somebody's going to come right behind them and wipe them out.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's just talk about lessons learned for a moment. So thinking about your 25 years, if you had to start things all over from scratch, what would you do differently, and what would you keep as the same?
That's a challenging question. What would I do differently? I think when I wanted to learn, I created environments or co-founded organizations to put me in those situations where I was continually learning. And I think if I change something now, I would probably do that again, because the Bay Area Deming User Group and so forth, they ran for over a decade, but I need something new right now. And I think that's probably, now that my book is finished, I think now I will want to begin to go out and share the contents more of the book, and also create those learning groups, so that we talk about what are these concepts that are so different, that still make a difference from when Dr. Deming, taught the Japanese this philosophy back in the 50s. How can we take these concepts that are still relevant today and apply them? Yeah. So I think that's something that I probably will change now, and I'll probably create something new.
Okay, so you've mentioned your book a couple of times. Can you show your book to our viewers?
Yes, I have the copy. So here it is.
Okay.
Pivot, Disrupt, Transform. And so it's how leaders beat the odds and survive. And so I wanted a short book that people could, pick up and, hop on a plane an hour later, read through it. And I've got fantastic people who also read it and gave me endorsements that even surprised me. But Dr. Ken Blanchard and Dr. Barry Posner, Vice Admiral Kevin Green, Daniel Pink, Colonel Deborah Lewis, all of these people and others inside endorsed the book, and basically found it, they said, full of counterintuitive advice. They said it will shake up your thinking about what it takes to be a leader. That's what Dan Pink said. And Ken Blanchard said, a refreshingly honest guide for leaders in today's world. Marcia will not just shake up some of your long-held beliefs about leadership. She will also inspire your thinking and move you to positive action. This book is a life changer for organizations everywhere. Yeah. So they got it. They read the book, and they discovered too that the purpose of me writing this book was to provoke thinking in order to help organizations, help leaders make a difference, because so many are struggling and they don't have to. So it's like the fork in the road. Yeah. They can grab onto the best practices and management fads and do the performance appraisals and hold individuals accountable, and they'll struggle and eventually fail. Mm-hmm. Or they can focus on serving customers with quality, continually improve and innovate, and then they have a chance to wildly succeed and transform themselves and their organizations.
Yeah, wonderful. And those are some powerful recommendations too, so that's great.
Fun.
So one of the things that I'm seeing now that's it's starting to take hold of, but it's the CIO, but not the Chief Information Officer, but the Chief Innovation Officer, where they have a small team running experiments and keeping the everything alive and vibrant within the company, and realize they'll make mistakes, they'll try something, throw it away, but try something else, and eventually, just keep moving forward.
Yes. I had one client that when we had moved the company, that it was the one that we moved the company from 30 million to 100 million, 200 million, and we were really focused on creating the environment to continually improve, get the systems and processes and the culture in place. And then I said, I want to introduce the innovation strategy. So the one of the owners of the company every month would have an innovation team meeting, and anyone in the company was welcome to attend that meeting. He had a white wall that was one end of his office. It was huge, and people shared innovation ideas. And then we would go through and filter them because sometimes they ended up being improvement ideas rather than innovation ideas. And I think many people don't understand the difference. So I basically say there's two different questions that have to be answered. When it comes to the improvement strategy, the question is, how do we make it better, more, faster? Mm-hmm. When it comes to the innovation strategy, it is, how do we make product service approach new, different, bold, unique, something that's never been done before, something that maybe has never been done for an audience or a market that we don't even have yet, but we're going to create. There was a time I went to a conference in Milwaukee, and it was an innovation conference. And I was so looking forward to learning more about innovation. For 2 days, there was not one speaker that spoke about innovation. They didn't understand what innovation was and how it's different than improvement. Every single speaker, CEOs that shared their growth path, it was all improvement strategy. No one had done anything different or bold or created a new product, service, or market. So there was such opportunity there, just like sitting on the table, that no one picked up and ran with. But it's key, and many leaders don't understand the difference. But if they understand the difference of those two questions and what those questions can create for them, then it's very powerful.
Yeah, and to think about it, if you can go back to when that company was formed, that was the mindset they had when they started it out. Yes. And then they've got stultified over time, and they're just focused on the bottom line.
Exactly. But that focus on the bottom line and that thinking that takes a leadership team to the bottom line. Let's look at the numbers. Of course, numbers are important. Of course, profit is important. But the focus has got to be larger than that. Leaders have to think about optimizing the whole system, and that the numbers are only a reflection of everything else that they've done. Mm-hmm. The orchestra, the music is only a reflection of all of the practice and the work of the musicians together, led by the conductor. Because otherwise, every system has to have an aim, a compelling purpose. It has to be led. And if not, like an orchestra, it would make noise, not music.
Yes. Wonderful. Okay, Marcia, we're running out of time here real fast. We could just go on and on and on. I just enjoy our conversation. So to kind of wrap things up, how can people get in touch with you to learn more?
Thank you for the opportunity to share that. I would love people to go to my website. It's mdaszko.com, MDAS, Z as in zebra, K, O.com, mdaszko.com. And there they can find the resources, podcasts, and research papers, and my newsletters and so forth. They can subscribe to that for free. They can find out more about the book, and the book is available on Amazon, at Barnes and Noble, and some other bookstores. But it's very easy to find out there. And then I would love people to give me feedback and give and share a review on Amazon about the book. What do you think about it? What questions do you have? People can email me at md@mdaszko, or they can give me a call, and all of that is on my website as well. So Marcia Daszko, and go to LinkedIn and link with me. I'm not difficult to find.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Marcia, you're a fantastic storyteller. I just really enjoyed all your advice about pivoting, disrupting, transforming, innovating. It's just some exciting stuff and it's cutting edge. And I'm sure that our viewers will find your story just as compelling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.